Good afternoon. My name is Troy Stedman, and I am the President and CEO with Abbott Construction. Thank you for joining us as we celebrate the life of a great family man, friend, and colleague in Brett Snyder. It has been nearly 2 weeks since January 10th, when Brett suddenly passed away. Shortly after that, as the family and those of us in the company came together, we knew that we wanted to put on an event where we could celebrate Brett's life and invite the larger community. And while we had intentions of possibly doing that in person, as we read the rules related to social distancing and the pandemic situation and reread those rules, it became evident that we were likely going to run into a challenge and that we would have more people who wanted to attend than we could safely accommodate. So earlier this week, we made a right turn and we said, let's go all virtual. And that brings us to today. And while this may not be our preferred way of gathering together, it's a close second. And we've put together some excellent photographs that the family, as friends, and even the company had that we want to share. We have tributes from employees of Abbott Construction, both past and current, tributes from the family, and in the background, we have music that, again, his family and friends have selected that we think Brett would appreciate. So it's Brett's playlist, if you will. And when restrictions open up, I look forward to the opportunity that we can gather again and maybe do this in person. Have a picnic, have some other form of event where we can continue to remember Brett at that time. Some thoughts from me that I'd like to share. Brett equaled trust. I had the first opportunity to work with Brett nearly 20 years ago on the Mary Bridge Children's Expansion Project. And we had a storied team. Some of the just greatest names in Abbott's history were on that project. And Brett was one of them. And I learned at a very young time in my career that Brett was the type of guy that you want to have in your company, because I looked up to him because he knew how to get it done. If there was a challenge in the field, he'd bring together the right people, tools, and they would do whatever they had to deal with an issue. But he also knew when sometimes bringing resources in meant bringing other people from the business in to help come together, rally, and put the best minds on developing solutions. And as both our careers evolved, I found that my working relationship with Brett was one of, he was the eyes and ears out there in the field, looking out for the company's best interests. And oftentimes our conversations were limited to just a few minutes. That may be passing each other on a project site where he was going and I was coming in. We'd also frequently run into each other in the parking lot or our lobby. And we'd have these short conversations, and in a matter of 30 seconds or less, I usually knew whether or not we had a problem that the company had to put attention on. And it wasn't so much the words that Brett shared, it was the body language, it was the swagger, and I'm sure some other people had this, but it was the eye contact. It was deep, and I knew what was on his mind when we communicated. And for someone that's running the business, having people like Brett is so comforting because they are always out there looking out for the best interests. so that the business can move on in a productive manner. And here's the great thing. Brett's not the only guy. He was a mentor to so many of us. And so that mindset, that way of looking out for Abbott Construction, that exists by so many of our team members. So I know that will continue with the company. And what I really appreciate, Brett, is he helped to instill that into our culture. Personally, several years ago when Vanessa and I were given the opportunity to move to California with our business, I was in a pinch. I was doing a home remodel project, had to get the basement finished out, and I called in a friend, and that was Brett. And Brett came ready to work, full of energy, and he not only brought himself, but he brought his wife Karen and their youngest son Aaron. And the three of them did a fantastic job with it, cost effective, timely, and communicated the entire way. I knew I was in good hands. And that opportunity struck a relationship between Karen, Vanessa, and myself, such that there's been a connection there really ever since. And at company events or wherever we have the opportunity to see Karen, we come together and catch up and have conversation. And over the past couple weeks, I've now had the opportunity to see Aaron again. I hadn't seen him for a while. Meet their oldest son, Devin, and their daughter, Ashley. I also had the opportunity to meet one of their youngest grandchildren. So, just a fantastic family that is dealing with a loss far too early, and my heart goes out to them. And so today we have the opportunity to remember Brett, cherish his memory, and I hope that you all find a comfortable spot where you can sit down, relax, have some great memories, hopefully have some laughs, because I know Brett would want that for all of us. Shed some tears and celebrate the great human being who Brett was. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy.
Hey everybody, so this is Brandon. Just a quick story about Brett and how we first met. It was the Great Northwest Factory Stores up in North Bend, first job with Abbott. Showed up to the job site trailer wearing full office attire with a tie, a shirt, slacks, nice shoes, and showed up to the job site trailer, and the superintendent, Mark Tellefson, promptly said, what are you doing here? What do you know? And then immediately said, well, I don't have anything for you. You just go sit over there. So I sat down in the corner of the trailer thinking to myself, what have I gotten myself into? And the door opens and there's Brett Snyder. And he looks at me and he says, well, you don't look busy, so why don't you give me a hand running heaters? So we had wet slabs inside the restrooms of the different individual suites that had to be dried out for flooring. So I spent the rest of the day on my hands and knees in my nicest pants with Brett, running heaters, running propane. And so I think that was the day that Brett and I first got to know each other, respect each other, and great friendship from there. So Brett, love you, and to be continued.
Hello, this is Andy Sprague, and I wanted to offer a tribute to Brett Snyder and share a memory. It was in 1998 I met Brett. It was at the Roosevelt Square job site. Abbott Construction had decided to take on a major structural slab, an elevated deck. And Brett was our fearless leader. 1998 was the wettest, coldest, windiest winter that I can remember. And we had the good fortune of choosing to do a structural deck during that winter. He was fearless, he was tireless, he was brave, he had a never give up attitude. That was the first I met him, and I had huge respect for him for the many years to come. I will remember his handshake, his firm, friendly, warming handshake. I will remember his laugh. Very special man. And Brett, you will be missed. I offer my condolences to the friends and family. Thank you very much.
Yeah, hi everybody. So, some thoughts I have on Brett Snyder. Boy, I tell you, Brett was a larger-than-life character who represented the spirit of Abbott with great pride and integrity. Brett, for me, always made me feel like I was part of the crew, and in on the joke with a wink and a nod. You know, he'd give you that. He had this John Wayne swagger thing that always showed up that I loved. He always had a little bit of butt crack showing just to make sure you knew he meant business. But a fun-loving guy, great laugh from the bottom of his belly. Proud dad. I can always remember he and Karen chasing their kids around at those family picnics back in the day. Makes me smile just thinking of it. And then, he and Karen both always gave me the sense that they were a team. And they're a team working on life's challenges and celebrating life's successes together. And something that I always admired in both of them, really. And, as you guys all know, Brett was a guy with a huge, huge heart. And a guy that I'm proud to have known and be able to call a friend of mine, certainly. And I'm going to miss him dearly. Love you, man.
There's so much that Brett brought to every encounter. His warm smile welcomed you in. His quick wit brought welcomed and sometimes much needed laughter. And his genuine heart provided mentorship for many. Whether job related or personal, Brett always took the time. Everyone was family. One of my favorite memories of Brett is when he and I would run the tool raffle portion of our annual Abbott Safety Barbecue. I would call out the numbers, and he would play Vanna. He was an awesome Vanna. He would model each of the tools, showing them off for everyone to see. The best part was his excitement for the winners. He would greet each of them with a hug and a handshake with a huge smile on his face. He made that event in so many ways, and I'm so grateful to have been a part of the pure joy that Brett created in those moments. Although Brett's physical presence will not be with us daily, the contribution he made to all of us via so many avenues will be with us forever. His footsteps were deep and wide, carved with care and intention. His footsteps will serve as a pathway for all of us as we strive to operate how he did, with laughter, love, and a genuine heart. All of us are better people, better leaders, and Abbott's culture is richer because of Brett. His legacy will live on in all of us every day. He will be missed dearly, and I will forever treasure the time I had with him and the laughter we shared.
I first met Brett about 30 years ago. We worked on dozens of projects together. I just want to say thanks, Brett, for everything you taught me, all the good times we had. I'm gonna miss those. You were an inspiration, man. You were bigger than life. You listened, you had a big heart, you worked hard, and you led by example. I'm gonna be forever grateful. And you're gonna be surely missed, Brett.
I've tried to make this video over the last 2 or 3 days countless times, and it's so doggone hard. I met Mr. Brett Snyder in July of '93 at the South Hill Mall when I was hired on. And our first meeting with one another, within about 30 seconds, I thought he was going to throw me off the job site because I had my glasses on my forehead, not on my nose. and he made it very clear that I shouldn't do that again. So fortunate that over the next 27, 28 years, there would be a relationship formed with him as our families got to know one another, as well as the impact that he made on our Abbott family. The guy was, he was a monster of a man. He really was. He had a growl that would scare the crap right out of you. Yet $1 million smile to immediately disarm you. He will be so sadly missed on so many levels. And Karen and Devin and Ashley and Aaron and Jay and Vanda and all the grandkids and all Brett's extended family. My deepest sympathy for you guys. I know what I feel I lost. I can't imagine what you feel. Although when I get sad, I immediately feel blessed and gratitude for being able to have that guy in my work life, as well a little bit of my personal life. You know, the work shenanigans, the camping trips when our kids were younger. He will be sadly missed, but he will never be forgotten. His footprint and his legacy will last a monstrous amount of time. Big Bubblicious. Love that guy.
There's been a lot to reflect on this past week since we lost Brett. But I just keep coming back to thinking about how huge a role that Brett played in building the culture of the company and the quality of the people within it. He quietly but steadily shaped who Abbott is. You know, when people walk into a building for the first time, they talk about things like the carpet and the colors and the fabrics and the cool design features, but you almost never hear them talking about the structure. No one ever says, wow, those columns are really cool, right? But we all know that without those columns, the building just simply wouldn't exist. Well, for the last 33 years, Brett Snyder has, in my opinion, been, without question, one of the most important columns in the structure that we know as Abbott. Yeah, at some point, somebody's going to step in and fill Brett's role. But nobody, no one, can or will ever replace Brett. They just don't give out the nickname Bubba to anybody, right? Brett, we're going to miss you, man.
Brett was a friend and a mentor. He's going to be sorely missed, but he's going to be fondly remembered. There's a lot that we could say about Brett Snyder, and if you've known Brett, well, there's probably not a whole lot that we want full documentation of.
Brett was certainly a mentor to all of us. He was a pivotal person in the creation of the culture of Abbott Construction, the family that we all consider ourselves a part of. He will be sorely missed. He has some big shoes to fill.
With that said, we definitely want to remember all the good times with him, all the hard work, all the accomplishments that he's helped create in this family, and he certainly will be sorely missed.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you, Brett.
But when the tax man comes to the door, now the house looking like a rummage sale.
Trying to put into words in a short amount of time what Brett meant to me and who he was is going to be very difficult. Brett had a heart of gold, big teddy bear. You know, he had a can-do attitude, that's for sure. Everybody knew that. He could bowl through a lot of stuff. And I learned a lot from that guy in the industry. And he taught me a ton, which I am forever grateful for. One thing I know about Brett is that he absolutely loved his family. He loved his wife, kids, grandkids. That's what him and I would mostly talk about every time he came around. We'd find ourselves talking more about things outside of work versus work. And that was one of the things that he always taught me was you got to make sure that you take care of family, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about him. Brett, you're deeply missed, bud. And I know we got some big shoes to fill, and I know that you would want nothing more than for everybody to get back to it and have a party in your honor. So here's to you, bud.
There's a lot of memories and a lot of things that I'd like to say about Brett, but I think I'm just gonna share about the last time that I talked with him. On Saturday the day before he passed, he texted me about 9 o'clock at night and told me to give him a call tomorrow and said that he hoped that I was feeling better. My dog had recently passed and I've been going through some health issues and stuff, so I sent him a text back and said, "Can I call you right now?" And he said, "Yep." And thank God I did, or else I never would have talked to him again. And we talked for a long time just about stuff I'd been going through, the stuff, he'd been going through, was talking about his own health issues and just wanted to call, and he wanted to make sure that I was not going back to work before I was ready. He wanted to assure me that they had everything covered and I didn't need to rush to go back to work and to take care of my family and to take care of myself. And that is Brett. Saturday night, he'd obviously been not well himself, and he's calling to make sure that that I was okay. And that's who he was. The last thing that he said to me was, "Give those boys a big hug, and Nicole a big hug, and enjoy your night with your family." And you miss the guy. I love him.
On October 9th, 1980, I was downtown La Grande, and I was leaving the establishment I was at and saw Brett talking to a couple guys. And he said, "Hey, what's up?" And I said, "What's up with you?" He said, "Well, have you met my friend Chris?" And I said, "Well, nope, I've not met Chris before." That would be Chris Myers, who on that night I met, and 40 years later we're still together. So Brett, that wouldn't have happened without you. A lot of things wouldn't have happened in our lives without you. And bringing Karen into our lives and your children and grandchildren. You are such a kind and wonderful soul, and I will miss you so very much.
Hi everybody, this is Chuck DePew with Abbott Construction. I just wanted to say something to the family. I'm really sorry for your loss as a dad and a husband. So I don't even know what to say other than I miss him too. He was like a brother to me. Him being from Oregon and myself being from Idaho, we just kind of had this connection there, and he was like a big brother figure to me. And so anybody who knew Brett know there was this mix of work and play. So I want to speak to both of those. Thanks for everything you taught me at Abbott, Brett. I'm gonna miss you. And the other part is, well, save me a seat in heaven, Brett, up in the bleachers, and just make sure it's in the black and gold section. I love you. I miss you. Talk to you soon, brother. Bye.
Well, hello, friends. I have to admit that in my wildest of dreams, I would have never have imagined that I would be addressing you in this manner, nor for this reason. My message is just not from me, but from the Knutson and the Peterson family as well. Vern, Jane, Jerry, Dennis, David, and the family all send our love and condolences to the Snyder family. As I was talking to Jerry the other day, Jerry mentioned Brett was one of us. He was a brother. And for those of you who know the Knutson family, you know that the Knutsons judge a person by the sweat of their brow and their attitude and their willingness to get the job done. And Brett was that kind of man and that kind of brother. I remember my first project was with Brett down at the Walmart in Renton. And
Karen and the kids came down and they were going to visit Brett, and we walked out of the job field office, and Brett walked up to the minivan, and yeah, Brett had a minivan. I think it was a Dodge Caravan. Karen had to use a shoehorn to get his big fat head in there. Anyway, Brett throws open the slider door. Up jumps Bucky. And I'm thinking, wow, he's going to give his dad a big hug and a kiss. Lo and behold, he rears back. Boom! Butts heads with Brett. And about took Brett to his knees. It was at that moment I felt somewhat relieved, because then I realized that I wasn't the only one that was butting heads with this big galoot. I count it a privilege to have been able to work alongside of Brett for my 20 years at Abbott. I learned a lot from him. Things like, you don't know shit. That was a good one. Or, how about this one? A superintendent's job is in the trailer. Why don't you just go in there and do your paperwork? Or my favorite, hey, by the way, I need 200 yards of concrete at 6 a.m. It's 3:30 p.m. right now. Is it on its way? Even with all that, at the end of the day, you knew there was going to be progress made on your job when Brett was there. I remember when my brother Larry died. My oldest brother Larry was 21 years older than me, and he was my hero. He was kind of like my John Wayne. And I'm sure that for many of you, that's what Brett was like. He was one tough son of a gun, but at the same time, he was Bubba. He was Bubba. I will never forget you, my friend. Never. And I'll never forget the impact that you've had on the construction industry and my family. Karen, Devin, Ashley and Bucky, grandchildren and family, we grieve with you. We love you so much. If there's anything we can do to help ease the pain, please, please let us know. And now, let's drink a toast to Brett. To Brett. Love you, man.
I'm going to keep this as short as possible because nothing I could say could really capture what you meant to me. You were the best father, grandfather, mentor, teacher, boss, and friend a son could ever ask for. Words cannot describe how much you will be missed, and there's nothing that will replace this hole in my heart. You taught me everything I could ever need to know about life, work, family, relationships, and if I'm even half the son, father, grandfather, and overall person that you were, then I'll be alright. Rest in peace, Dad. You will forever be my hero and best friend, and I will never stop missing you until we meet again. Goodbye. I love you, Pop.
Dad, I have so much I could say, but it's unlikely I could get it all out. You taught me how to work hard, how to save money, how to love my children, and that being a good parent is the most important thing in the world. Family always comes first. You taught me that you don't actually have to pay for donuts as long as you can eat them before you get to the register. A lesson I've passed on to my son. And that if you don't get the fire department called, is it really considered a bonfire? You taught me the art of sarcasm, and that it's always better to beg for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. Later, the motto that frequently gets me into trouble. I will forever miss our yard selling days, our ice cream trips, and our millions and millions of inside jokes. It breaks my heart knowing you won't ever hear your voice or feel the warmth of your big belly bear hugs. You are everything to me, and I will always cherish our memories together. I will never let Mason forget how much you loved him, and I will make sure Jace hears about all your shenanigans a million times over and over. I love you and I miss you so much, Daddy. Forever and ever, your brother.
Good afternoon. You know, how does one come up with words to describe the greatest man they've ever met? A man that they've strived to be every day of their life. How do you cope with that loss? If anybody knows the answer, I'd greatly appreciate it if they could share that with us. The pain, the void left, the loss of my dad is one that'll never be replaced. And in these somber moments, it tends to bring me down. I like to reflect upon the positive things that we shared. Mainly the funny things. My dad was a funny man, I think you all know that. Some people may have thought he was, what I heard, more of an asshole, which he definitely was. It's probably just as much an asshole as was funny, which in turn they actually think is more hilarious, but it's neither here nor there. I'm going to share with you some of the funny things and things that, I knew of my father that perhaps I can share with you that you'll reflect upon when thinking about him brings you down. I think one of the funniest things I think of the old man is the way that he'd yell at his cell phone with it on speakerphone 4 inches in front of his face. Dad, they can hear you. Or that he, no matter what size jeans he had or how many belts he had on, the one thing you could guarantee is that his butt crack would be on display for everybody. Another thing I think about my wife Vanda just brought up today was that he tended to do everything in his underwear, at least at home. I don't know about work. But first time my wife came home to meet the parents, we walked to the front door, opened the door, and there's Dad sitting on the front couch. They're in the living room. It's a leather couch, in his underwear. Oh, hey, Snyder. What are you doing? Oh, why didn't you tell me you were bringing somebody home? I did, Dad. I just got off the phone with you. Well, I married that girl, Dad, so nice try. Or some other funny things that he'd do. I know everybody probably experienced this, but his way to provide what we call constructive criticism, right? Because it couldn't be delivered in just a professional way. It usually started off with something along the lines of, "Did you bump your fucking head? You know it needs to go like this." I'm sure we all heard that one. Some of the greatest things, of my dad's memory that I tend to commemorate and mimic the most were what was representative of his character. I think one of the biggest things that he took passion in and really loved was children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, us children. There was nothing more important in the world than winning over a child's heart. And boy, could he do it. Call him the baby whisperer. Your kid's crying, give him the bread. Never met him before? He'll be good. How outgoing he was towards children was just amazing to watch. And not only children, but to his friends, right? He would be the first person over to anybody's house to help him with a project. He'll show up at 3 o'clock in the morning. He'll make sure everything is done all the way through. Don't let him do finishing work, though. I learned that at my house. However, when it came to his own projects, that was a different story. So he always put everybody before himself. So with him, there was never a dull moment, right? Had the corniest jokes.
cornish jokes that he said for years. He said them since I was a kid. Something like, man, I can't wait till tomorrow because I get better looking every day. Or, that hurt? Well, guess what? It'll feel better when it stops hurting. Well, no shit, Dad. Thank you. Thank you. Or really, one of my favorites, especially as of late, like, oh, come on. Use your dad's side of your brain, Snyder. He was an entertaining man. He was dedicated, he was outgoing, and yet he was so loyal. No matter what, he'd be so angry at us as kids, I'm sure people at work, but he never gave up hope. He always wanted to continue to help. And I think that's really all that he wanted. And as he looks down upon us, he wouldn't want us to be sad for his absence. He would more probably be looking at every single person and hoping that he spent his life helping in some way to positively impact everyone else. And I can say that he's the greatest man I've ever met, and I'm blessed to have got to spend the time I had with him. And I hope your guys' experience was the same. I love you, Dad, and I will miss you. Thank you.
The sand that you left on my pillow, the sound of your heartbeat with mine.
I want to read this just so that I can get through it much easier. I truly want to thank you all for the prayers, cards, gifts, and just being there for us. When I first met Brett at a party in August of 1981, for me it was love at first sight. But I was 17 and he was 23. My dad was a senior trooper with the Oregon State Police. That might have been a little scary for him. Well, after driving past his house a lot and accidentally bumping into him on the main street in LeGrand, he finally gave in and we began dating. 4 years later, we were married in 1985 and had our children, all three in 3 years. I know, pretty stupid. We had plans for the future, and I'm sad he doesn't get to share them, and I'm pretty sure they will change for me too. They just wouldn't be the same anyway. His family and his work were his priority in life always. He put all he had in both. He loved to have me drive him around to his job sites lately, and it was good to see how amazing he was at his job and the respect that he received from his co-workers. He enjoyed occasionally going to the casino and pushing buttons until the credits said 0. He then enjoyed playing the only machine that he would say would pay off, the ATM. If you go to the casino, his favorite game was Coyote Moon. Try it, maybe he'll give it a payoff nudge for you. He loved hunting deer and elk with his 30-06. He called it his meat stick. His favorite times were with his sons, dad, and his brothers. He loved mostly anything outdoors. He grumbled about Christmas, but in the end always wanted to get more presents for the kids to see the joy and excitement on their face. He loved having coffee with his mother early in the mornings before everyone woke up. He loved playing with the grandkids, nieces, and nephews, or just kids in general. He just loved playing with kids. He was always joking, sometimes to my demise. When the kids did something dumb, he would tell them to stop using their mother's side of the brain, to my eye roll. And also he would say, if you got hurt, he'd say, well, how'd that feel? And again, eye roll. I will miss him so much. I am broken and empty. I know it will become bearable, but I can't yet see that light. As if with all of you, time will tell. A friend wrote in one of the cards that I received, Psalm 147:3. He heals the broken hearts and binds up the wounds. I'm holding on to God's promise, not only for myself, but for all of those who love Him. God bless you all, and Brett, on angel's wings, Godspeed, until we meet again.
The high, the hurt, the shine, the sting, every little thing.
Hello, my name's Ron Nelson. I'm the Director of Field Operations for Abbott Construction. Having worked with Brett for almost 30 years now, there are just so many special memories and so much fun that we've had together. Having had some time now to think about all those memories, there are three things that really stand out to me about Brett. And the first thing is how dear family is to him. And not only his family at home, but his family at work and all the people he worked with. The second thing that stood out to me was just the word fun. He loved to have fun. He made everything fun, and his smile and his heart were just huge. The third thing is that Brett was truly a builder's builder. You knew when Brett showed up that he was going to be able to see things on the job site, point out things, give people mentorship, coaching, and it was something that I dearly relied on as working together with Brett. You trusted him. The word trust was truly present with Brett. So before we close this event, the family would like to share a poem that they've selected that is special and helps us all reflect on Brett, the family, and ourselves and our lives. So we hope you've enjoyed the video, the memories, and please enjoy this poem that we have to offer. Thank you.
If Tomorrow Starts Without Me, a poem by David Romano. When tomorrow starts without me, and I'm not there to see, if the sun should rise and find your eyes all filled with tears for me, I wish so much you wouldn't cry the way you did today, while thinking of the many things we didn't get to say. I know how much you love me, as much as I love you, and each time that you think of me, I know you'll miss me too. But when tomorrow starts without me, please try to understand that an angel came and called my name and took me by the hand and said my place was ready in heaven far above, and that I'd have to leave behind all those I dearly love. But as I turned to walk away, a tear fell from my eye, for all my life I'd always thought I didn't want to die. I had so much to live for, so much left yet to do. It seemed almost impossible that I was leaving you. I thought of all the yesterdays, the good ones and the bad. I thought of all the love we shared and all the fun we had. If I could relive yesterday, just even for a while, I'd say goodbye and kiss you and maybe see you smile. But then I fully realized that this could never be, for emptiness and memories would take the place of me. And when I thought of worldly things I might miss come tomorrow, I thought of you, and when I did, my heart was filled with sorrow. But when I walked through heaven's gates, I felt so much at home. When God looked down and smiled at me from his great golden throne, he said, "This is eternity and all I've promised you. Today your life on earth is past, but here life starts anew. I promise no tomorrow, but today will always last. And since each day is the same, there's no longing for the past. You have been so faithful, so trusting and so true. Though there were times you did some things you knew you shouldn't do. But you have been forgiven, and now, at last, you're free. So won't you come and take my hand and share my life with me? So when tomorrow starts without me, don't think we're far apart. For every time you think of me, I'm right here in your heart.